Hi, friends. Thanks for joining today. It's awesome to see you, Paul. Thanks for coming live. It's so weird because when I'm doing vertical lives lately, now it's started to send more people to the lives. Like I had over 4,000 viewers in one recently, but with these lives, it really doesn't at all. So I hope it's okay if I sort of try and speak like I'm addressing people who might watch the recording because I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to try and figure out how to speak in these in the way that's most helpful to everybody. But anyway, so that's where I'm coming from with that. But I wanted to do this live today because stuff is moving finally. So let's hop in right away and take a look at what's going on with the Bitcoin price because things are starting to happen. It broke 103,000 earlier today. Let's see. Yeah, according to this graph, it got up to 103,660.50 actually yesterday night. But that's the thing about these graphs. I don't know where they're capturing the data from. I also have Gemini's centralized platform open so we can look at the price here, although I don't recommend Gemini at all. They're not a good organization. On this graph, it's showing that this is the day graph though. So let's back up a little bit. So we're looking at the 6-hour graph, so we're seeing more data. But yeah, according to this, it looks like it got up to about, see, it looks like it didn't even break 102 here. But the point is that it's moving again and it is very close to its all-time highs. On this graph, if we look at this again, this would have us think that all-time highs were a little less than 105,000 US dollars. So we're very close to that. So yeah, as soon as Trump backed off of the super stupid tariff policy, the cryptocurrency market responded quickly and started to surge again, is what it looks like is happening. And that means it's going to start getting fun again, which is good for all of us. So, yeah, it seemed like a good time to start talking about this explicitly, like speaking explicitly about what's going on with the prices. Ether, the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, is up as well compared to where it was a few days ago or a month ago even. It's up almost 46% over the last month. So, like the people that were able to grab some at 1400 or so USD, good for them. That's great. I didn't manage to get in that low, but I just saw today, so you should be able to see this MetaMask wallet. This, you can see the balance here. Whenever I started buying into this dip after Trump executed this stupid monetary policy that resulted in stock market crashes effectively, which also then affected like the big cryptocurrencies and even seeds, even though seeds is a small cryptocurrency. um yeah, I was buying in at, it turns out I was averaged in right around here, and I thought I was in a little bit higher, but I bought 88.88 worth of ether in total. So now we can see it's worth 89.95. So that's good to see. Again, it's always, there's no such thing as a perfect trade. It would have been way more fun if I'd managed to get in at 1,400 or $1,500 per ether. But I'm very happy with this overall position, and we'll see what happens, like over the course of the next weeks and months now that this big weight isn't like hanging around cryptocurrency's neck anymore, and it can start to go. Related to that, you may already know, Paul knows, that the course that I teach, How to Build Abundance in Cryptocurrency, is kicking off the live version that I teach once a year. It's coming up. The deadline to register is 2 weeks from today, Thursday, May 22nd, which is also Bitcoin Pizza Day, which is a celebration of the time 15 years ago now when a guy in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, paid 10,000 Bitcoin in order to get 2 pizzas delivered to his house. And it's like the first transaction that took place in Bitcoin where somebody actually bought something, that they were going to use. And yeah, so that's going to be the deadline for this course 2 weeks from now. Um, if you're not familiar, I should introduce myself. If you don't know me and you don't know what work we're doing through Seeds, the reason I teach this course, which I should share a little bit more about my background. So I used to be a pro stock trader on Wall Street and also in Chicago. I became aware of how stupidly designed that system is and how discriminatory it is. I experienced a lot of misogyny in that world. And over time, I eventually recognized the blockchain technology, the technologies that underpin cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and every cryptocurrency that there is, could actually be used to design new economic systems that could address a lot of the dysfunction and the discrimination that I saw and witnessed firsthand when I was working as a professional stock trader on Wall Street and in Chicago. And so that's what Seeds is. Through Seeds, you can help people in need and receive Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks. And the idea there is that if and when Seeds go up in value, you can actually build wealth because you were kind enough to help somebody. So it's about transcending this for-profit, nonprofit binary that only exists because capitalism leaves no space for giving. And those ideas are super outdated because that's not how most people live their lives. We're not exclusively acting out of self-interest every second. Especially, like people who are more spiritually evolved, there are people that want to devote their lives to giving, even. And we need an economic system that aligns with that sort of behavior. And so that's what Seeds is. But I recognize that we're living in a reality in which an economic system like Seeds can't take off quite yet, or else it already would have. And through this period of time, I've leveraged, my experience as a professional trader, who I should also mention started buying Bitcoin in 2013 when it was at about $90 a coin. So I can share that experience and that information and so forth to help you out so that you can navigate the current economic system, specifically when trading the cryptocurrency markets. And the reason I do that is so that we can sustain Seeds with this course, so that Seeds continues on until we reach that tipping point at which the ecosystem itself can support and sustain itself, because so many people are involved and so many people are giving and so many people are buying up Seeds on the decentralized markets because they want to be involved in a kinder sort of economy, which is about, rewarding giving instead of rewarding taking, like happens all too often in the old economic system. So that course is coming up, and if you want to join, we'd love to have you. It's effectively free because you get Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks when you pay in full up front. If you're watching the live, you can see that in the chat. I put the link in the chat. It's also linked in the description of this video too. I should also share, let's see. I thought it'd be more fun today to look at kind of like what's practically going on and to look at actually trading. I haven't done that in a while. I'm kind of experimenting with these sorts of lives, and I'm doing several of them leading up to the May 22nd deadline of this course if you ever want to come to another one. And I haven't done sort of just straight practical trading live in a little bit. So I thought we could do that today because Bitcoin is starting to go. So if you have questions, let me know. If there's anything in particular you'd like to talk about, please say the word. I should make sure. Paul says, go Seeds. Thanks, Paul. ET says, you will love Ampleforth. Paul says, very excited. Yay. What is Ampleforth? I'm not familiar with Ampleforth. Is it another cryptocurrency? So yeah, let's look at this practically, I guess, for fun. Yeah, we'll start here. I'm just so loath to use Gemini's platform because they're so straight up evil. But we don't have better options whenever it comes to centralized cryptocurrency platforms. The sad reality is that if we want to trade our fiat currency like the US dollar or the rupee, whatever your national currency is, for cryptocurrency, we almost always have to use platforms like this in order to do it. And there ain't one out there that's good. None of them are good. Alternately, I should make sure to share that you can give to help people in need through Seeds, get Seeds cryptocurrency in thanks, and then trade the Seeds for other cryptocurrencies on the decentralized market. That's another option to avoid using these. But we kind of do still have to use them. And it's something of a shame. I have not been treated well by Gemini is why I'm complaining about them. And none of them, like I said, literally none of them are good. Anyway, so this is what we're dealing with though in terms of the current reality. Let's look at a graph that's a little bit that's showing a shorter time frame. We can change the time interval over here if you're not familiar with this feature. This is something that you'll see on any centralized trading platform. So if we look at the 1 hour graph, it hasn't been super volatile, right? Like it's just heading on up. And this takes us back to April 23rd at 5 p.m. I think it's probably Pacific time because I'm in Pacific time. Yeah, this is a good sign. It tells me, looking at what's up, that it was all Trump. It was Trump and these ridiculous, insanely stupid tariffs. And that as soon as he eased up, like I said earlier, this could just start to go. You may know this already, but historically, what we've seen is that the cryptocurrency market as a whole, and Bitcoin tends to be this sort of indicator. Um, what is the word? I always fail to think of the word. It's not harbinger because that has a negative connotation. It's like a barometer. That's the word I want to use. It's a barometer for what's going on in the cryptocurrency sector at large because it's the oldest cryptocurrency. At this stage of the game, it has a ton of institutional support as well. So it's almost become like the legacy financial system has really moved in and kind of tried to get its claws in there. So we can just accept that that's the reality and benefit from that as individual traders. Um, and then support seeds so that we can get out of a system where that's still happening, because seeds is designed to help us transcend this sort of thing where people with a lot of capital are just using that capital to get richer, to get around this idea that it takes money to make money. You can redeem a seed to get money, and you can use that to invest if you want to. We've had people do that in the past. That's, you can use it for anything you want. So yeah, this looks encouraging. I'm stoked to see what's going to happen. What I was starting to say though, sorry, was that historically, um, I don't have that graph pulled up right now. I'll just describe it. But yeah, what we've seen in the past is that following what's called the Bitcoin halving event, there have been 4 Bitcoin halvings in total so far. Bitcoin's a little over 16 years old now. It was first introduced in January of 2009. Whenever a halving event happens, the rewards that the Bitcoin ecosystem issues to its miners are cut in half. So that means there's a drastic reduction in the supply of Bitcoin being generated. That's by design because the anonymous creators of Bitcoin wanted to issue this cryptocurrency, which was deflationary. Um, they saw, or he saw, there's speculation about who this person is. Some people think it's this dude, Nick Szabo, this American guy, but nobody knows. He's never come out publicly. Nobody knows for sure, I guess, to my knowledge. So yeah, it's this idea that Bitcoin was introduced following the 2008 financial crisis. We saw governments bailing out huge banks. That idea of like Main Street versus Wall Street was a big conversation that people were having at that time, where like Wall Street was getting bailed out, Main Street had to pay for it as taxpayers. And even though the system didn't totally collapse in 2009, I think largely thanks to, I mean, Barack Obama did a lot to keep that from happening, I think, and I don't think he got enough credit for it. So it didn't collapse then, but we still have the same problems, right? And for what it's worth, I've become convinced that Trump's role seems to be about making a lot of that dysfunction in the old system totally break down and fail, even though that's not something he seems to be conscious of. ET says Ampleforth is what Satoshi wished for. It's backed by most brilliant people. Satoshi, I assume you mean? Paul's like, Seeds is up too. Yeah, it is coming back up. Paul says, yes, I've been doing that. Swap some seeds to get ETH and LP to seeds ETH pool. Ah. Um, I'll check out Ampleforth, but I don't like the Coinbase CEO. Like, I don't think that dude is good. I had an interaction with him. The Coinbase CEO, Paul may have heard me share this before. Um, Brian Armstrong, Coinbase and Seeds share an investor from back in the day. And one time I was at a bar in San Francisco in 2014 and I walked in, and this was after there had been issues on Coinbase's centralized platform. that screwed me over so that I essentially lost I didn't get filled on thousands of dollars in Bitcoin I was trying to buy in late 2013. So that would be worth so much money today. The opportunity cost was enormous. And I saw him in the bar and I went up to him and I was like, Brian, like this thing happened on Coinbase and I lost out on all of these trades. And it really messed me up. And your customer service didn't respond for like a month. And then they were just like, basically, like, they did nothing. It was a bad experience. And his response was, oh, that was a really hard time for me. Here, I'll send you $10 worth of Bitcoin on the Coinbase platform. And he sent me $10 worth of Bitcoin. And that was like the first, it was the clearest indication back then that Coinbase doesn't give a shit about the people who use its platform. His first thought was about himself. And yeah, Ampleforth does actually sound familiar now that you mention it. For some reason, you've deleted those comments, all right? It's also, yeah, okay. It's also backed by Fidelity. It's the biggest hidden secret because people can't understand it. I don't know. I'm skeptical of anything backed by something like Fidelity at this point. So let's talk about what's up in the markets. We'll see, like, I've talked about this before. Paul's heard me talk about this before. But Bitcoin, as mentioned, is so propped up by institutionals now that it's not as affected. This didn't used to be so clearly this way, but I think as institutionals have put so much money into Bitcoin in the last year and change, really, because the Bitcoin ETF was introduced in January of last year, which was when Bitcoin started hitting new all-time highs. If the term ETF is unfamiliar, that stands for exchange traded fund, which is essentially like a stock version of Bitcoin, which can be traded in the traditional stock market, but which is based on the value of Bitcoin itself. I used to trade gold ETFs, for another example, and they were going up I started professionally trading in April 2008. So it was like a super interesting time and a challenging time to cut your teeth as a trader. Most people weren't able to be profitable traders. Most people were not profitable in 2008, but I was able to figure out a way to make money as a trader because I saw that as people didn't trust the traditional markets, more people were buying gold. And because there was a gold ETF that was resting on the value of gold, that was actually going up. And so I bought gold ETFs and was able to find profitability that way. Anyway, so yeah, Bitcoin ETF was introduced in January of last year. And that seems like, even though there have been other ETFs introduced or equivalent or similar types of sort of traditional financial vehicles that rest on the value of cryptocurrency have been introduced since then, including ethers, it's still, I would argue, significantly oversold. So it just hasn't rebounded in the way that Bitcoin has. And Bitcoin didn't get knocked down as far either. It's been propped up more. And it just doesn't my sense now is that it doesn't seem like it's going to anymore. It doesn't seem like Bitcoin is going to be as volatile as it used to be. So what we've seen in other past market cycles, which are kicked off by these Bitcoin halving events. I don't think I finished my thought about that earlier. I'm sorry. Bitcoin halving events kick off market cycles. We've often seen all-time highs. We haven't often. Every time we've seen cryptocurrency all-time highs, 12 to 18 months or so after a Bitcoin halving event. And the most recent one was in April of last year, April 20th. I think it was actually April 19th where I'm at on the west coast of the US. So right around that time. So we're over 12 months into that period of time. Trump made things different this time around because of his economic policy, which I think underlines that maybe it's not a great idea that we're all living under the yoke of this economic policy that somebody like Trump can just disrupt in that way. But it did stop, right? It's not, I mean, it stopped in the sense that it's not depressing the markets in the way that it was beginning in like early April or so. So yeah, Bitcoin is not getting as beat up. It doesn't look like it's as volatile. A thing about volatility, though, is that it creates opportunity for traders. So yeah, as I've shared previously in recent live sessions I've done, Ether is oversold, I think. If we look at like a longer term graph, here's the 6 hour graph. This graph is so, I don't want to like complain too much on these, but look how worthless this graph really is. You can't see anything. Their design didn't used to be this terrible, and I wish I had a better option to show y'all. Let's see we'll try the day graph. Yeah, look, you can't even, what? You can't like read anything on this. Ugh, they're so bad at everything. Let's look at it here, I guess. Okay, so if we look at the 6 month graph, Ether is still down nearly 30%, 29% in the past 6 months, whereas Bitcoin over the past 6 months is up 36% nearly. This actually prompted me, as I mentioned in a recent session, to make my first Bitcoin purchase in a long time, in many years, I believe, because I could see that even though I don't believe in Bitcoin as much as I believe in something like Ether, which has larger network effects because so many people have built projects within the Ethereum ecosystem. I could see that Bitcoin was holding its value more reliably. So I ended up buying some Bitcoin, and that ended up being profitable much more quickly than this recent like Ether trade I made when Trump was tanking the markets. That is just rebounded as of today. Like literally, I was out of the money on this until today. Now it's up a little bit more. But the Bitcoin trade was profitable almost right away. So yeah, it's kind of interesting in the sense that it almost looks like Bitcoin is sort of becoming like a hedge. Like we can look for those opportunities in other cryptocurrencies that have the potential to have a much larger percentage increase. Because like if we look at, let's see, in the last year, Bitcoin is still up 68.5% in the last year. That's pretty substantial. 5 years, this is 979.5%. If we look at Ether in the last year, it's down 30%, over 30%. In 5 years, this says it's not up as much as Bitcoin. That's interesting. I didn't realize that. From May 9th, 2020, that's almost the date of the third Bitcoin halving. It was on May 11th of 2020. Huh. I don't know. I feel like I want to look into this information on other sites that present it more readably than Gemini does. Ether certainly outperformed Bitcoin at moments in the last cryptocurrency market cycle. I know that because I made great profits in Ether. I can't even show you on this graph because it only goes back to 2017 here for some reason. But yeah, I started buying Ether and it was like February of 2017. In the last cryptocurrency cycle, which kicked off with the May 11th, 2020 Bitcoin halving, the third halving, as I mentioned. So COVID stuff happened in like March. I mean, in terms of like the initial financial impacts of 2020, March of 2020. I'm looking at the right thing, aren't I? Yeah, it's like this graph, it's so much lower that it's kind of hard to view it. Yeah, see, I don't trust this per se because I know that I was buying Ether at around $109 a coin, as I recall, in March of 2020 after the markets tanked then because in the US, people didn't know how Trump was going to respond to COVID. And so there was this moment where the stock market dropped. Yeah, I mean, this graph just isn't showing us like super granular information either, but what am I trying to say? Just that I think that Ether is still oversold, even if this graph is telling us that Bitcoin has outperformed it in this 5 year period. Bitcoin is not oversold at this moment because I mean, it's very near its all time highs, right? It looks like it could very well break through these all time highs maybe quite soon. Um, oh, yay. Wait, what is Ether at? Yeah, okay. This is Ether's trading at 2178. How did they fill a trade there when the market is showing that it's trading down here? Yeah, this graph just isn't good. I'm sorry, y'all. I really wish I had a better tool that I could use to show you. I'll research further to see if I can find anything else that I might not be aware of, but to my knowledge, there just isn't any great centralized platform out there, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm just trying to say that I think Ether is oversold in a way that Bitcoin isn't. So there's more opportunity here. Bitcoin is very near its all-time highs, as we talked about, which according to this graph are more like 105 or something like that, 105,000 US dollars, according to this graph. I've seen 109 on other platforms. Whereas Ether, in terms of its max, it's like 4,800 bucks or so. This is 4646. I've seen a higher number on other platforms in November of 2021. So that shows us, like if what can often happen is Bitcoin sort of forges a path, and then other cryptocurrencies that are newer, and Ether's not new anymore. And it's, as I mentioned, it's the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, but other cryptocurrencies may follow suit. And if they have more volatility, often if they're the less expensive cryptocurrencies, then we can see those increases kind of happening as Bitcoin's sort of forging the path. What I'm trying to say in a long-winded way, hopefully not too long-winded, is that if this is trading, at not quite 2,200 and highs are 4,800-ish, there could be a lot more upside here if we start to see things breaking all-time highs. So yeah, there's that. I don't mean to focus too much on Bitcoin and Ether in these lives. It's just that they're what people know, especially if you're newer to the cryptocurrency sector. Yeah. And because Bitcoin has functioned as this barometer, as I've said, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on and paying attention to, particularly because of all the institutional support. And the way that people, like the introduction of the Bitcoin ETF in January of last year, did this thing in which more conventional investors who maybe were too scared to get involved in cryptocurrency, or just they thought like it was really hard to engage with the technology for some reason, even though it really isn't. Those folks suddenly had this vehicle, this investment vehicle that was more familiar to them so that they could get some exposure. And of course, it goes without saying that with each cryptocurrency market cycle, as more and more people in the mainstream who were not previously involved get involved through buying and owning cryptocurrency, buying is what drives the price up, right? So that's helpful for those of us who want to see the price go up over time. Yeah, so that's a little bit of market analysis for y'all today. I don't want to keep you very long. I want to keep these shorter, especially because I'm doing more of them. I'm going to do another one tomorrow where I talk about how Vipassana meditation has helped me to see ways, in my opinion, that we can better organize the financial system, if you feel like coming to that. So yeah, I'll just leave you with some further thoughts about, I'll say this, what Bitcoin introduced that had me so excited when I first became aware of it in 2013. And it really was like something was telling me to pay attention to it. I remember consciously thinking that because people from various walks of life who were in different areas of my life who did not know one another were telling me about it. Were telling me like, hey, this is happening. You should pay attention to Bitcoin. Excuse me. And I remember thinking like, sip of coffee. And I remember consciously thinking that the universe or whatever was telling me to look at Bitcoin. And so I did. And that's when I started buying it. I bought a dip back in 2013 after the feds in the US shut down a platform called Silk Road and seized the $30 million in 2013 Bitcoin that it was holding, which made the price drop a lot. But I saw then that Bitcoin was oversold and that there was this great opportunity to potentially make a really profitable trade, which it obviously turned out to be because I was buying it $90 a coin. Side note, the founder of Silk Road, who had been in jail and had a long sentence, I think he was going to be in there for the rest of his life, and he's my age. He was just pardoned by Trump recently, so he's out of jail. Excuse me. So, what am I trying to say? I was just so excited in 2013, and everything was very different then. The culture was different in terms of awareness about cryptocurrency and sort of perceptions of it, because it had been used by this not good platform that you could buy any illicit thing you wanted on. And the guy that went to jail who had founded Silk Road, I mean, he went to jail because he was like putting hits out on people, contract hires for, it's not funny, to murder human beings. That's why he was put in jail. So this wasn't a platform that was doing good in the world. And at that time, Bitcoin was then kind of associated with, strongly associated with that type of terrible behavior. So we've seen these different cryptocurrency market cycles where things will go up a lot. More people who have maybe heard about it before, but didn't want to get involved for whatever reason, they start to think like, oh, it's going up. I know it went up before. Maybe I should get involved this time. The price goes up a lot. Then there's a ton of hype. And then what we've seen in the past is that these bad actors will appear. In the most recent cycle, it was FTX, Celsius, a bunch of centralized platforms that were not behaving well. And in a larger sense, I think that's because we're moving away from centralization and toward decentralization. I think the energies, I know the astrology points us toward that happening. That's what caused it in this last market cycle. And now we're coming up in this point of the new market cycle, which kicked off last year, where things are starting to really get moving again. So, as a savvy trader, of course, we want to do the best that we can to buy low and sell high. The elements of the technology that are interesting are still present. We're using them at seeds. And this is an interesting moment to get involved in the cycle. I feel like I'm always saying that before a course, but I also time the courses to be at interesting moments. And I intentionally wanted to time this course, which again closes 2 weeks from today on Bitcoin Pizza Day, because we were coming out of the negative impact that Trump's tariffs had had on the markets. And now it kind of looks like, knock wood, we're in the clear. I mean, nobody can predict what Trump is going to do, but it doesn't look like he's going to. There's at this point, I mean, he got so much criticism and he saw that the markets were freaking out, I think enough that he's not going to do more. I said this in other lives though, and then he did, then there were more tariffs. But at this point, I mean, it's been a little while now. It's been a few weeks. Assuming that doesn't happen, then it looks like it's going to start going. So this is like a good moment in time. It's not, we're not in the hype yet, right? Like we're not hearing a lot of hype yet. I haven't even seen, I mean, this video that I'm making now, in which I'm talking about Bitcoin having broken $103,000 a coin, that's the only one that I've seen, at least, that is talking about this now. But I'm also not on crypto YouTube very much. Um, it's not like a crazy thing where a bunch of people are yelling in your face about how you should get involved in this yet. We're not, we're still, it seems like, fairly far off from that moment in the hype cycle. So it's a good time to try and get involved if you're interested. And if you like helping people in need, you can get involved in cryptocurrency and help someone in need through seeds at the link in the description, and receive seeds cryptocurrency and thanks, so that if and when those go up in value, you can have more wealth because you actually helped someone. And 100% of the value of your gift will go to helping someone. And I'll leave it at that, I guess. As I said, the course is effectively free when you sign up, because you get, if you pay up front, to be clear, there's also a monthly payment option, which makes it cost like a nominal amount of money. So it's a better deal to pay in full up front. And you get Seeds cryptocurrency with that, which makes the course effectively free. And then if Seeds do go up in value, then you could be in the money simply because you joined the course, even if you did nothing else. However, that said, I really want to do my best to, it's always weird to like show my face like this. My face is here. I really want to do my best to present this so that I hope that this course will connect with people who resonate with the idea behind Seeds, who understand that the legacy economic system hasn't been serving the vast majority of us, but maybe just haven't known where else to turn. The course really isn't for people who are just looking to get rich. I'm sure there are other courses you can find with people who want to talk about that on YouTube with various like crypto bros or whatever. Um, but I'm not like bombastic about this or anything, but the truth is that I haven't come across anyone who has the background and experience I have coming from, careers a Wall Street trader who started trading in 2008 when the markets were crashing, who then started buying Bitcoin in 2013, who then recognized ways that we could use this technology for good, right? So I'm bringing in that knowledge and that perspective into the way I present and teach this course. And I haven't come across anyone that can offer, I mean, even 2/3 of that, because I haven't seen anyone else who's a former pro trader who started buying crypto that early, who has a course. So that's something I can give to you for free effectively because you get the seeds when you join the course. I should also mention that when you join, you have free access to every future version of the course that I teach live. And back in 2021, I committed to teaching it live once per year. And that's what's happening now. So again, that deadline is 2 weeks from today. If you're interested, but you're not sure if like you can pull the trigger right now, you can just sign up for notifications on the website at the link in the description too. And we'll be sure to let you know before the doors close. And yeah, you'll be supporting a good cause. You'll be supporting work to get us out of the trap of the old system so that we have the space we need to heal, so that more of us can create the things that we're uniquely here to create without being forced into having to work jobs for corporations. In a best case scenario for many of us, having to work jobs that we hate, or not being able to find a job at all because of the design of the old system. Seeds is about helping us all get out of that, because if you can redeem a seed and receive that support through the seeds ecosystem, and the people that are kind enough to support you are able to build wealth because they supported you, isn't that a better system design than the zero sum old way? I think it is. It's not perfect, but I think it takes several steps in the direction that humanity needs to go. Paul says, Seeds is amazing and my favorite. Thanks, Rachel. You're so nice, Paul. I really appreciate you. Thank you. A lot of retracted messages in the chat for some reason. Okay. Well, thank y'all for joining me live. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, ET. And if you're catching this on the recording, thanks for watching this long as well. As I said, I'm going to be back on lives a bunch of times heading into the deadline when doors close on May 22nd. And if this resonates with you, I would love to have you in the course. It would really mean a lot to us. It sustains seeds, like I said, and it's just really appreciated. So I'll leave you with that and I'll catch you later. Thanks, y'all. Bye.